Is this video petty? Maybe. But honestly, it's more sad. And we did make a sad video earlier in today's show. A depressing update on Patrik Laine and how everything's gone down with him and how he wants to be the main guy, but he's just not that. But this video is less depressing and more just kind of like, I see, that sucks, kind of vibe, Because I feel like this situation is not necessarily an indictment against whatever player, but more so an indictment against a general manager. Today, we're heading over to the Carolina Hurricanes, who do indeed play later today. They've got themselves a contest against the LA Kings, and that game is going to be going on a little bit later in the day, 6 p.m. Vancouver time. So, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. Not an early game by any stretch of the imagination, but I wanted to talk about a guy who has not been playing. Not because he's hurt, not because he's out and about, but because he just has gotten scratched the past 2 games. Who knows if he'll end up getting scratched for today's game? Not too sure, but based off of the tea leaves, it doesn't look like he's going to end up playing. Today we're talking about Jesperi Kotkaniemi, baby, because things have really not looked good for this guy over the last few years. I say years, it's really been that long. Because Jesperi Kotkaniemi is 25 years old and still signed on to that $4.8 million AAV contract, taking him until 2030. Left-handed, 6'2", 201-pound center, and a guy who admittedly had 1 point in the opening game of the Carolina Hurricanes season. He's at 1 point in 2 games, so literally half a point a game. You can't go out there and deny that. But he wasn't playing a lot to begin the season with these Carolina Hurricanes. But the past 2 games, he has ended up getting healthy scratched. And a lot of folks are going out there and talking about this fact. Hey, Jesperi Kotkaniemi got removed from the lineup, and now Mark Jankowski is centering that 4th line. Which, by the way, houses Andrei Svechnikov and Eric Robinson. No disrespect to Eric Robinson, but my gosh, Andrei Svechnikov, what in the world are you doing on the 4th line? Turns out this guy has been quite disappointing as well, but that's another conversation for another day. A former 60-point player in the NHL as a young guy who ended up really falling out of grace the past few years after a few bouts with injuries. He's got 0 points this year in 4 games. So definitely not an ideal situation for him. But back to Jesperi Kotkaniemi, things have gotten so ugly for him and his situation in Carolina, especially when you think about the potential of what's happening against LA later today. This is what was tweeted about 2 days ago. The Hurricanes will not practice on Friday, the 17th. The club will, however, hold a morning skate at 10:30 a.m. PST ahead of Saturday night's game against the Kings at 6. And you had this reply from Eric Manning saying that no practice usually means no change in the lineup. At this point, I don't think we see Jesperi Kotkaniemi play during the road trip bearing any injury, and even then they might just call somebody up. Hopefully a trade is being finalized. It's just getting ugly at this point. Now, interestingly enough, there's another reply that says, hey, what are your thoughts on Svechnikov on the 4th line? I think it's the usual treatment of Svechnikov. He's supposed to be a high-impact power forward, but there's 0 tolerance for any penalties, which makes that rule difficult. So then he looks lazy for not being impactful. I think he'll eventually get moved. Moved as in moved up the lineup, not moved, traded, something like that. Another reply says, what if KK is actually okay being a cog of a winning team who likes playing with? We have absolutely no knowledge of any conversations he's had with the coach of the team. And the reply is, no player in NHL history is happy with not playing, especially one who still hopes to make the Finnish Olympic team. Yeah, I don't know, Jesperi. Is he gonna make the Finnish Olympic team? Does he even have a chance? I don't know. Half a point a game speaks volumes, but only if your sample is more than 2 games. With this in mind, though, Jesperi Kotkaniemi has really not been in a good spot the past little while. This tweet goes out there and spells it out. Kotkaniemi has 1 goal in his last 41 games, dating back to last season's playoffs and regular season. Now, he did score some preseason goals this year, which counts for something, but not a lot. So, really, it just boils down to Kotkaniemi not being able to provide any sort of $4.8 whatever million value like he is signed to. When you remember that this guy is only a Hurricane because Carolina wanted to get revenge on Montreal for the Sebastian Aho offer sheet, which didn't even work, by the way, it all of a sudden becomes a lot more comical in that sense. And I'd say it's not really sad for Kotkaniemi either, because it's not necessarily like he's showing off play that's so good and he's not being given any opportunities. It's like, hey, the guy doesn't score. The guy hasn't looked particularly amazing, and he's not playing as a result. But he's still making so much money, a lot more money than he would have gotten otherwise, because the alternative as to what's happening in Carolina right now is that he actually re-signed in Montreal all those years ago. He would have been played at center, and who knows, maybe what we're seeing out of Kirby Dach now is what would have happened with Kotkaniemi. Not the injuries and whatnot, but just the lack of true upward progression. It was easy to say back when the Canadiens went to the Cup final in 2021 that, oh yeah, this young core is so amazing. Suzuki and Caulfield and Kotkaniemi, they're all there and they're all getting Stanley Cup championship experience, and that's going to be very good for them in the future, etc., etc. But that just didn't really look all too great in the long term for Kotkaniemi, because he never got better, particularly speaking. He was never able to be the next Barkov. A lot of folks were saying that, oh yeah, Finnish two-way center taken top 3 in the draft, Barkov. And we were debating whether or not that actually was a possibility after he had a better rookie season than Barkov did, which I will totally give Kotkaniemi props for. He had a better rookie season in the National Hockey League points-wise than Alex Barkov did at 18 years old, which you should not go out there and discredit. But Kotkaniemi never became Barkov, and now it's like he's not even in the same room as Alexander Barkov. His shadow isn't in the same room as Alexander Barkov. And so now he's getting healthy scratched. He's making 4-point-something million bucks, almost 5. When he is in the lineup, he's in the 4th line. He hasn't scored a goal in half a season. This guy is looking like a total failure of a revenge plot for the Carolina Hurricanes. Dundon going out there and saying, Montreal, screw you guys for signing Sebastian Aho to a contract that we reasonably had the opportunity to sign him to as well. We just didn't want to do it because we're cheap. They matched that offer sheet really quickly. But nah, screw you guys for getting the contract negotiation done for us and not giving us the opportunity to underpay Sebastian Aho. We're going to offer sheet your guy, Kotkaniemi. We'll give him 1 year, $6 million. And then after that, we're going to re-sign him to a much cheaper AAV contract, but one that goes on for 8 years. Like, wow, what a great plan that was. Now you're stuck with this guy. He's not going to get any better, especially when he's not playing. So yeah, what gives? We'll see what happens with the Hurricanes later today against the LA Kings. If Kotkaniemi plays and he ends up scoring a hat trick, then hey, call me the ultimate jinxer here. Let's say I wanted that to happen. But if it doesn't and he ends up getting scratched for Mark Jankowski again, then I guess we could all say that it was well worth the price of the offer sheet that set the Hurricanes' bottom 6 on fire. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, the dislike button's down there for you as well. Comments help out with the algorithm, so I'd appreciate it if you got involved down there. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.